off guard. Black out the Dina is gone. My community is being murdered. I said murdered.
All you have to do is go to our website homepage at kbla1580.com and click on the icon that says KBLA Guest Editorials to learn more about our editorial standards and content submission guidelines. As long as the topic aligns with our mission, we are happy to review your submission and consider it for broadcast. We can't make any promises, but we want to amplify progressive perspectives that are community-focused and solution-oriented. So go to KBLA1580.com right now to download all the information you need about our guest editorials. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Jesse Jackson Jr. KBLA Talk 1580. It was Jefferson Davis who at the end of the Civil War said, "The principle for which we contend is bound to reassert itself, though it may not be another time and at another forum." He also said the contest is not over. The strife is not ended. It has only entered a new and enlarged arena. And finally, he said, "Nothing fills me with deeper sadness than to see a Southern gentleman apologizing for the defense we made of our inheritance. Our cause was so just, so sacred, that had I known that all this had come to pass, had I known what was to be inflicted upon us, all that the country was to suffer, all that our posterity was to endure, I would do it all over again." That was the president of the Confederacy towards the end of the American Civil War, and he was referring to the more than 600,000 Americans, every single family in the United States affected by the conflict associated with the war over slavery. Of course, the war over slavery over time became the war over states. And over time, the war over states became the war over a state's right to leave the Union. And of course, from Abraham Lincoln's perspective, he argued that the states do not have the right to leave the Union over the questions for which they contend. Today on our very special program, we have at least one, but maybe two state representatives who will be joining our program under the leadership of our close and dear regular contributor, Atiba. Atiba Madian is a former deputy executive director of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators. He's a strategic alliance consultant and president of Party Politics US. He's worked as a TV political contributor for BNC News, The Heat, In the Know with Mo, The Leslie Marshall Show, iHeartRadio, GovExec, 96.3 WHUR, and One America News Network. He most recently was a guest host on Rising, an American daily news and opinion web series produced by Washington, D.C. political newspaper The Hill. In 2020, Atiba released his first novel, Saving Grace, a political thriller. Atiba is our very special co-host on today's program. Atiba, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Jesse, it's great to be with you. How are you?
Atiba, I'm doing great, and I am so glad that you are here, and I'm very grateful that you, with your contacts across Well, every state legislative body in the United States that has African American state representatives and state senators in that caucus of legislators, that is the National Black Caucus of State Legislators. Atiba is probably one of the uniting forces for the whole group, and he is, of course, a regular contributor on our program. And we've got a lot to discuss today about what is taking place in Texas, about bomb threats, about threatening legislators, and about the historic role, yes, that Texas has played in the ongoing conflict since the end of the Civil War. Atiba, I don't know anyone who knows the subject matter better than you.
Well, I started looking at, as you were doing your intro, Langston Hughes' poem, Dream Deferred. And what happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up? Has our dream dried up now? Because I think that what we're seeing with our legislators in Texas, and they're seeing the fact that they have the courage to stand up for our democracy, I think that they're telling us that we are definitely living in a nightmare, but they're going to need us and they're going to need our support. And, the poem goes on to say, like a raisin in the sun or fester like a sore, and thee run. Does it stink like rotten meat or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? And right now, I think a lot of this stuff is reaching its boiling point and it is ready to explode. We've long heard about America being the place for dreams come true. And for a long time, for centuries, in fact, African Americans have felt that the dream has been deferred, that we have been living in a nightmare. We have been warning America of this, and we're here. And it's a sad case where we are. But I have to say that even hearing about the bomb threats this morning, about what happened, it made me think of the lack of courage of those who used to wear sheets.
Atiba, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA 1580. When we come forward, Atiba is going to break down what's going on in Texas and in our nation.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger, who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Agnes was in deep trouble with the IRS.
I owed the IRS a lot of money. I did not know what I was going to do. I was scared.
Agnes caught a break and found out about Optima Tax Relief.
But when I called Optima Tax, they guaranteed me that they were going to help me out the best that they can. And they did.
Optima stopped the IRS.
No more telephone calls, no more letters. Optima Tax took care of everything. I can finally sleep at night. I was stress-free.
Agnes was finally free from her IRS nightmare.
It was like a burden was lifted off of me, and it was a great feeling.
Are you in deep trouble with the IRS? You might want to listen to Agnes.
I would refer Optima Tax Relief to anyone because they got me debt-free from owing the IRS any more money.
Call Optima right now for your free consultation. Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. Optima Tax Relief. Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com. Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Canadian. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., and in this hour, my very special guest is none other than Atiba. Atiba, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you, Jesse. It's great to be here with you.
Atiba, I want to dive right in. Obviously, this conversation could start in Jamestown, Virginia in 1619 and culminate in the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. Of course, the 15th Amendment being the right to vote for African American men, except for those who have experienced or are presently incarcerated. Then the struggle, of course, through various civil rights acts in the 19th century, all the way up to the Selma to Montgomery campaign for the right to vote, the threatened lynching of James Orange in Marion, Alabama, the shooting of Jimmy Lee Jackson on the night that they were threatening to lynch James Orange, his death just 2 or 3 days later, Martin Luther King Jr., James Bevel, Andy Young, Ralph Abernathy, and others coming to Marion, Alabama to preach his eulogy. And James Bevel coming up with the idea that, you know what we should do? We should have a march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge from Selma to Montgomery to dramatize the shameful condition of the absence of voting for African Americans that would later culminate in the passage of the 1965 Voting Rights Act after the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And we have known, for those of us who were born in 1965, only the fruits, if you will, of that struggle and Second Reconstruction. And since the passage of that act in 1965, there have been attacks by both the legislatures, by the Supreme Court, by those who lost the Civil War, the descendants, and it has brought us right up to the moment where in the mid-decennial process for states who normally wait until the end of the decade, and then the Congress determines the reapportionment by states, and then in the 2002, 2012, 2022, the second year after the decennial year, the state legislatures accept or draw state and federal plans as part of their process. Texas, under the leadership of Governor Abbott and now President Trump, have decided to disrupt that process and in the middle of a decade, change the lines of the state of Texas to their benefit. That has led to Democrats exiting the state and now under the threat of arrest are literally fugitives from the state of Texas because the state legislature cannot hold a quorum without their presence. I'm sure you know this history better than most, Atiba. Share with us where we are, where we're going, and the very dire circumstances that are represented by the tremendous leadership of those legislators in the state of Texas.
Jesse, first off, I want to say I think you did an excellent job of just recounting that and spelling that out. And where we are today, we've seen marches, we've seen not just after this election, but in 2016, people organizing and marching. And I have here my notes that protest only works with a strategy to agitate. And, you know, as I've been texting with some of the folks in Texas in the legislature, first off, the first thing that I say is my prayers are with them. Second is thank you for having the courage to stand up, because this is the type of thing that mobilizes people to recognize that we do have a voice, we do have opportunity. And let's just keep in mind that, you know, they're going to say, and they are already using terms like rule of law. And rule of law to me is just another way of saying the law to rule. And what they're trying to do right now, or what they are doing right now, is taking the power from the people, because they recognize that their policies, their agenda is not in the best interest for the majority of Americans. That's what this is about. A democracy is supposed to work for the majority. It's not working for the majority. I'm going to go out on a limb. I think that some of the things that we can be and should be doing is taking back the narrative. For 8 years, we've heard things like rigged election. We've heard things like lock her up. And I think that the language really needs to be turned back on them. I think that we need to be saying the same thing back, because the ones that are actually breaking the laws are the ones who are trying to steal the democracy and really destroy it, so that we have authoritarianism, so that we have someone who everyone wants to see bow down to one person, when the reality is whether or not we've had Republicans or Democrats in office. You mentioned and went back to 1965, and today being the 60-year anniversary of the Voting Rights Act and Selma. All of those things that came about was about achieving some sense of justice. But we also have to recognize that just like when you're playing on the playground and we used to play the game King of the Mountain, King of the Hill, that there was always someone trying to knock you off of the hill. And we've got to figure out how to band together, not only to take power back, but not only to be responsible with power, but how to maintain the power, because that's what they're doing. They recognize that they have an opportunity now, and they are afraid of what will happen in 2026 if they have a fair and free election.
Atiba, I couldn't agree with you more. My concern would be that they see themselves as functioning within the framework of the Constitution, of functioning within the framework of their law, and with the support of not only the President of the United States, but the Department of Justice, who simply is not enforcing the Voting Rights Act of 1965. What say you when it comes to their perspective?
I think let's take a step back and let's recognize and think about where did we make some mistakes. Part of the mistakes I think that we made, I can't remember the year offhand, but President Bush was in office and there was a lot of clamor and a lot of excitement because President Bush signed the reauthorization of the Voting Rights Act, something that should actually already be an amendment, something that should have been in the Constitution in the first place. Absolutely. I think that overall, one of the things you mentioned that I work for the Black Caucus, but one of the things I'm very proud of is having been involved in early conversations with not just the Black Caucus, the Hispanic Caucus, the Native American Caucus, Asian Pacific American Caucus of state legislators, and they formed a quad caucus. And I just recently was in Boston, Massachusetts. I just returned last night for a meeting of the National Conference of State Legislators. And if you allow me 1 second to just talk about in 1972, somewhere around there, or maybe 75, the NCSL, the National Conference of State Legislators, was formed. This is their 50th year. The National Black Caucus of State Legislators took itself out of that body because they were not listening to issues that related to African Americans. Now, fast forward, the Black Caucus, Hispanic Caucus, Native American Caucus, and Asian Pacific American Caucus all met together at the National Conference of State Legislators, and the body of 7,500 state legislators elected the fifth African American to lead that body. In a time of a lot of tumultuous things that are going on, Representative Marcus Evans from Illinois will be the president for the next year. And I mention those things because to show how far we have come in 50 years. It's unfortunate they've only been 5 African Americans. But what I keep talking about there and now is about shared prosperity. How do we get there? It's not just about standing up for the democracy. I think that we get there also by recognizing that in order to create the America that we want to protect our democratic values, perhaps we should be talking about creating a new America and what that looks like. What does a vision of that look like? What does a vision of hope look like for every single American, and not just continue to have these particular battles and fights? Because this is something that I think even Republicans who voted for this administration, I think that right now, almost 9 months into this presidency, they are looking at their own decisions and recognizing that they let someone get into office that is not just disruptive, but someone who is clearly tearing down the fabric of what we have been told from elementary school to now, what the democracy is supposed to look like and what the Constitution is supposed to do. And the Constitution is only a piece of paper if we the people don't stand up to give it the meaning. And so that's where, in terms of all these conversations that we're talking about and what's going on in Texas is a part of the union. And what we see in these Democrats doing, and thankfully are doing and have the courage to do, is bringing attention to the fallacy, the nightmare that's going on. Because if we don't stand up now, 2026, what will those midterm elections look like? Will we even have a midterm?
I find your analysis particularly compelling and extremely strong, something that I agree with. Let me add this and get your insight on this. I have shared from the very inception that on these questions of gerrymandering and redistricting, Democrats, the party of Thomas Jefferson in 1793, has not historically been on our side. Nor has the party of Abraham Lincoln, the one born in Ripon, Wisconsin in 1854, been on our side. Democrats and Republicans, through most of the two-party system that is America, has not been on our side. The Voting Rights Act has contemplated that. It's looked at the behavior of Southern Democrats and Northern Democratic liberals over time. What was a Democrat in the South that fought for the Confederacy became the party of Nancy Pelosi, the party of Barack Obama, of Joe Biden, and ultimately the party of Kamala Harris. What was the party of Abraham Lincoln, stopping the expansion of slavery into the Western territories, has now become the party of Donald Trump, of Jim Jordan, of Marjorie Taylor Greene. So we understand that. But the central issue that runs through the two-party system in this country since the inception of the two parties has been the issue of race. Therefore, the Voting Rights Act actually contemplates not only the behavior of Southern Democrats and Northern Democratic liberals, it also contemplates the behavior of, if you will, Lincoln Republicans and today's MAGA movement. And therefore, it tells state legislatures to draw congressional districts in a way that both sides, since both sides have discriminated against African Americans, Asian and Pacific Islanders, Native Americans, our Hispanic brothers and sisters, you must draw a congressional district or a state representative district in a way that gives them an equal opportunity of actually getting elected, because all of us live in these segregated communities all over the United States. Draw the lines in a way that gives them a chance to have legitimate representation. That's, in my opinion, what the Voting Rights Act of 1965 actually does. Atiba, what do you think about the idea that states that are capable, states with Democratic governors and Democratic legislatures, that they ought pass their own Voting Rights Act or some version of it of 1965 that guarantees this kind of representation not only at state legislative levels, but also at the congressional level as well? Therefore, honoring the 10th Amendment, that our state, which controls the voting processes in our state, is honoring equal opportunity and equal representation.
So, Jesse, you served in Congress with Congressman John Lewis, for whom I have the greatest amount of respect, in terms of for what he did, putting his life on the line, what he did as a congressional member, what he did through his life, reminding us of the power and the importance of voting. I am for anything in any state, in any city, in any community that protects the right to vote. It is a right that should be upheld for every single citizen of this country. The right to vote is not something that any of us should ever take for granted. And I think ultimately we're talking about, should there be legislation passed in the states? I want to go further. I want to go further and say there should not be an electoral college. I want to go further and say that we should go by a popular vote. Why are we the only country in the world that has to try to explain, when I'm speaking to international audiences during an election year, explain how we elect the president of the United States? I think that we should have a national voting holiday. I think that this whole idea of having to have a different kind of ID, et cetera, we should be able to vote. There should be a national voting holiday. You should be able to vote online. We can pay our bills. We can do all these other things that we do online, but we can't vote online. So all these, your question, should the states introduce legislation to protect the right to vote? Absolutely. We've got red states, and I hate saying that we have to define this, red states and blue states. We have states that have passed laws that are making it difficult to vote. You can't give water to someone within a certain distance of the voting precinct. So these laws, yes, anything that we can do to protect the integrity of the right to vote, I'm all for it.
Atiba, we have about 2 minutes before we come forward, and it's a hard stop at the 30. Your thoughts in these 2 minutes on the courage of the Texas legislators?
the courage is undeniable, and the courage is what we're going to probably see in other legislatures or other, not just elected officials. This has to be something of the people. I continue to say this, and I said this earlier this week, talking to legislators in Boston at the conference. President Obama in 2016 in his farewell speech said that he is speaking to us in terms about change and speaking about hope, that we are the change that we seek. Too often we're looking for a leader. Too often we're looking for someone to guide us. We are the change that we seek. And so it's going to take all of us. And I honestly believe more and more that this election in 2024 was a rigged election. I really think that we should really start thinking about that. I really think that we should look at how can we take back the narrative, stop following and allowing someone else to control the narrative that we can control. And it's almost the same way as when, as a person, when we were kids and someone was bullying. And the only way to get a bully when I was younger was you had to punch the bully back. So I think that we've got to be looking at ways that we can identify and control the narrative and stay on the message. And the message that I have right now is not just about voting, but about protecting the integrity of this democracy so that it works for everyone.
Atiba is the former Deputy Executive Director for the National Black Caucus of State Legislatures. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. 5 soldiers are recovering after a shooting at Fort Stewart in Georgia. The shooter is in custody and no deaths have been reported. The base, which houses 15,000 troops about 40 miles from Savannah, has been given the all clear. Governor Brian Kemp says he's in close contact with law enforcement, and the White House confirms President Trump has been briefed. Sean Diddy Combs is seeking a pardon from President Trump after being convicted in New York on prostitution-related charges. Trump confirmed Combs' team reached out, but said he's unlikely to grant it, noting Diddy's past hostility during his campaign. And Tennessee has executed a black man, 69-year-old Byron Black, for the 1988 murders of his girlfriend and her 2 daughters. Despite concerns his heart device might cause pain, the execution proceeded. Witnesses said Black showed visible distress, saying, quote, "This is hurting so bad," end quote. The victim's relatives were present. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Spending 2 hours staring at the back of someone's bumper isn't the best way to end your day. So Jack in the Box is giving you a bonus with their new Bonus Jack Combo. Fries, a drink, and a burger with your choice of 1, 2, or 3 patties, starting at just $4.49. Get so much more.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Venus Williams, at age 45, will be back on the tennis court Thursday morning in the first round of the Cincinnati Open. The Compton native will play Jessica Monero of Spain. Monero is 22. She wasn't even born when Venus turned pro in 1994 at age 14. Jen Pawal will be the first female umpire to work a Major League Baseball game. The 48-year-old Pawal will work the weekend series in Atlanta between the Braves and Miami Marlins. On Sunday, Pawal will be behind the plate calling balls and strikes. MLB is a little late with this milestone. The NBA started using female referees in 1997. The NFL used a female ref for the first time in 2015. Cleveland Browns coach Kevin Stefanski said Shedeur Sanders will be his starting quarterback Friday night in the Browns preseason opener against Carolina. Deion Sanders is listed 4th on the depth chart among the Browns' 5 quarterbacks. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You have cancer. The 3 words no one wants to hear. Of the cancers that impact our community, lung cancer is the most dangerous. More people succumb to lung cancer than colon, breast, and prostate combined. Black men are 12% more likely to develop lung cancer, and cases for Black women are rising. Early detection and comprehensive treatment is the best way to beat this dreaded disease. Providence is a research leader in multi-cancer early detection, offering blood tests that identify fast-spreading cancers that don't show symptoms in early stages. The Providence Los Angeles Integrated Network Cancer Program determines best protocols for each patient, interacting with specialists who share experiences, perspectives, and new findings specific to each case. With over 1,000 board-certified physicians, including top oncologists, surgeons, radiologists, and nurse specialists, Providence delivers whole-person care that understands your culture, values, preferences, and priorities. So, if you hear the words, "you have cancer," all you need is faith and providence.org/cancer.
Your child is 18, and suddenly you no longer have legal access to their medical info, even in an emergency. No health decisions, no financial help, nothing, unless you plan ahead. That's why Trust and Will created the Young Adult Plan. It includes HIPAA authorization, healthcare directives, and power of attorney. Everything your child needs to stay protected and stay connected. Go to trustandwill.com and get your Young Adult Plan for just $69. Because turning 18 shouldn't mean cutting parents out of the picture. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. See website for details.
Trust and Will. Some things can steal your sunshine.
Ugh, I just got my hair done.
Sorry, the cooler's broken. Anyone see my flip-flops? Anyone?
But COVID-19 can steal a lot more.
I just took a COVID test. Ugh.
Prescription medications for COVID exist. If you test positive this summer, ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com/COVID-19 to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
In this hour, our very special contributor is Atiba. Atiba is a regular contributor for conversations on our show. He is a strategic alliance consultant and president of Party Politics US. He worked as a TV political contributor for BNC News, The Heat, In the Know with Mo, The Leslie Marshall Show, iHeartRadio, Government Exec, 96.3 WHUR, and he is here with us on KBLA Talk 1580. Atiba, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thanks, Jesse.
Atiba, let's talk about for a moment what the consequences of a single state in the union using the gerrymandering process in the center of a decade to change its lines for the political advantage of one party or another. It seems to me that we are starting a spiral that could lead to retribution in future presidencies when they have uncooperative Congresses. And of course, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian, Pacific Islanders, and others are right there in the middle, while the Voting Rights Act is having a Democratic and Republican, how shall I say it? I don't want to call it a powwow, but there seems to be Democrats and Republicans advocating for their own political advantage while ignoring the central issue of multicultural participation.
Yeah. First thing I want to say, as a result of what we're seeing, for instance, today, Texas Representative Tony Rose, a friend of mine, was supposed to come on, But because of what happened, not only them moving, but because of the bomb threat and because of safety issues, she was not able to join us, or she's not able to join us. But I want to, emphasize and say, when we talk about gerrymandering, and I would assume that there are listeners out there that are wondering, why do we have gerrymandering in the first place? The whole idea that every 10 years we have to keep redrawing districts is based on the premise that there are shifting populations that move and that to keep a certain number of people within certain districts. But I'm okay with the idea of redrawing those districts. The issue, though, is that when it is based on who is in control or who's in power gets to control or determine who gets to draw those districts becomes an issue, because that is not objective, that's subjective. And I think that, ultimately we really need to be looking at that. And that's why I brought up, in the last segment, Jesse, the whole idea of the popular vote. The idea that we can have a popular vote, and we've had it happen 3 or 4 times in our nation's history where the popular vote occurred, and yet because of the Electoral College, someone else won. I think those are things that we should also look at, because 2016 would have been a different issue. 2000 would have been a different election. When we keep talking about gerrymandering and what states do, and this idea of states' rights, I don't know about for you, Jesse, but for me, it boils me, makes my blood boil a little bit, because every time I hear somebody talk about states' rights or property rights, the first thing I think about is slavery, because it is all tied to another narrative. So what states do and how they do it is all based on people who vote and who we put into elected positions. And you mentioned that I've worked with state legislators. I remember when I first started working with state legislators in 2001, 2002, and a lot of my friends kept thinking that all the power was situated within the Congress. When I kept trying to say, no, you need to know who your state legislator is. And why? Because the state legislators do so much in terms of where money gets appropriated, where you vote, how you vote. When all these things are all based on those state legislatures. So I think, to what is happening today and what has been happening really over the last decade or two has forced people to learn more about our electoral process, which is unfortunate when we think about the education system, because I think that things have moved away from that. I'm going to say there's one last thing. Do you remember that cartoon, How to Make a Bill?
Yeah. In fact,
So
I've got the railroad guy and the bill around me somewhere here on this table. But I hear you. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and probably some people, maybe that is bringing back how he sang it. I'm not even going to try and do it because I'll embarrass myself even more.
That's right. I got it for you. Schoolhouse Rock. I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. And now I'm off to committee where I'll sit here and wait while the Democrats and Republicans start a debate. Oh, how I wish and pray that I won. I got it. Yeah, I got that thing. Hope one day I'll become a law.
There you go. Thank you for that. And yesterday at the conference, they were giving out one of the booths in the exhibit hall. They were giving out, and I tried to get one, but I had to leave. They were giving out the one that looked like the bill, like a puppet, and a stuffed bill. And I just thought, wow, isn't this cool that here we are in this body, where there are Republicans and Democrats from all over the country, and they were giving that out. But it's a reminder. The unfortunate part is now is that bills get introduced and they just die and die and die and die. And, I'm trying to not say think, we have to recognize our power, and that giving away our power is when we don't vote. And so you asked me, I know you started us off with gerrymandering, but there have been too often times in elections where we look at what the voting numbers were and they were low because we didn't vote. And that also leads to where we are, unfortunately, today.
I should tell you that one of my friends just texted me, "You can't sing. Please don't do that again." I hear you, Alpin.
I think you did a great job, Jesse.
I appreciate that. Listen, I just want to say that, there are a couple of schemes theoretically that would work, right? If every state had, for example, the state of Illinois has 19 representatives. I think it's 19, might have been 16 at one point in time, but the reapportionment gave us 19. If every Illinoisan got to vote for 19 people at large to represent Illinois in the Congress of the United States based upon reapportionment, I suspect there would not be a single African American in Congress. And there may not even be an African American woman in the Congress. Or there may not even be a woman at all in the Congress from the state of Illinois if everyone ran statewide and at large.
Mm-hmm.
But in the city of Chicago, in Cook County, because of the history of segregation, Black people live on one side of town. We have a Chinatown. We have a part of Chicago where a lot of Irish people live. We have a west side of Chicago, a south side of Chicago. We have a Polish community, and we have had Polish representatives in the Congress of the United States. And so based upon how the lines are drawn, we've had Dan Rostenkowski in the Congress. We've had Jesse Jackson Jr. in the Congress. We've had Danny Davis in the Congress. We've had Luis Gutierrez in the Congress. We've had a Jewish woman, Jan Schakowsky, and others in the Congress. So gerrymandering does matter for our voices in Illinois. And I would argue that's true all around the country. At large, you would not have those voices from the state of Illinois, but for the drawing of congressional districts. The problem is, from my perspective, Atiba, when they begin to unpack women or African Americans or Asians from these districts who have more in common with each other than they do, let's say, the north side of Chicago, where there are very wealthy people who live, and we find ourselves competing against the billionaire class, it is impossible for our voices to desegregate the national legislature. When we come forward, we will have more with Atiba on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. But more than that, Atiba will be with us in the next hour with S. Todd Yeary on Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, more with Atiba.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're an adult in need of an accredited high school diploma, the Los Angeles Public Library can help. You could earn one for free in as few as 5 months, online with 24/7 access. You also get a personal academic coach, plus special training focused on 9 in-demand industries, as well as a resume and cover letter to advance your career. Visit the website at lapl.org/diploma. That's lapl.org/diploma.
JP Morgan Chase offers tips for the local business owners in 2025. Small business landscape is ever changing, and the Los Angeles market is no exception. A startup or legacy business, revisiting your mission statement and recalibrating offerings can renew opportunities for growth and innovations. Programs like Chase for Business Coaching for Impact gives entrepreneurs access to expert guidance, helping you streamline operations, strategize your growth, and navigate complex challenges. Businesses with a clear sense of purpose can navigate any challenge effectively, but also build stronger customer loyalty. Visit chase.com/coaching for impact for more information. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cow Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you wet shaving? You'll get razor bumps.
Nah, Pops, I'm good with Gillette Skin Guard. How long you been growing that beard mama hates anyway?
Since 77. I shaved and got ingrown so bad.
That's why I use the Gillette Skin Guard razor, face scrub, shave gel, and moisturizer. So I don't have to worry about new razor bumps or shaving irritation.
Gillette Skin Guard, huh? Your mama's gonna love this one.
The best a man can get keeps getting better with Gillette Skin Guard. Buy now at a retailer near you.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest is none other than Atiba, former Deputy Executive Director for the National Black Caucus of State Legislators. Atiba, welcome forward on the show.
Thanks, Jesse. Great to be here.
Atiba, I want to raise this question in our final segment of this particular hour, knowing that you're going to be with us in the next hour as well with Estad Yeri. I want to raise this question that just a month ago, 2 months ago, in June, we commemorated Juneteenth from the state of Texas. That holiday, that holiday where Texans found out 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation that they were free under the proclamation. And we know that's not the 13th Amendment, but it was an executive order from the President of the United States that granted freedom in the territories where Abraham Lincoln had no control and no power. But we were having barbecue, we were having ribs, man, we were having big fun. We were talking a lot of garbage from one end of America to the other. I remember when State Representative Al Edwards introduced the legislation in Texas. He was my father's campaign co-chairman in 1984 in the state of Texas. I remember when Sheila Jackson Lee got elected to Congress and brought Juneteenth holiday all the way to Washington, D.C. I said, Sheila, are you sure you want to celebrate Juneteenth nationally without laying out the context and the foundation of what it means to spend 2 more years in slavery? And now here comes Texas one more time, Atiba, one more time coming after the Voting Rights Act of 1965 with its African-American and Democratic legislators, fugitives from Texas justice, running from one city to the next, one state to the next, hiding from Texas marshals who are threatening to arrest them and offering civil penalties. I don't know if they're felonies, but civil penalties of $500 a day for every day that they're not in Texas and practicing or participating in the legislature. Outrageous, outrageous.
All of it is outrageous, and that's why we're talking about it, and that's what they want. You know what nobody's talking about anymore? Epstein files. You know what nobody's talking about anymore? Ukraine.
Yeah.
Israel. So all of this stuff too is, we've got so much that's on us. James Baldwin said, I love America more than any other country in the world. And for that reason, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually. Well, my criticism right now of our country is it really speaks to us also as citizens. Personally, I love and I've always appreciated quotes. And one of the quotes has been, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. And I think that what we see right now with those Texas legislators is that they're staring right at the fear of these Republicans who expected them. What did they expect them to do, Jesse? Did they really expect them to just sit there and just take it? Did they really expect them to do that?
This is what I actually think and expect. I think they think we're ignorant of this history. I think they think we don't know our own Passover and Seder experience. I think they think we don't see them and their behavior. And I think that they see us in time, but they don't understand that not only are we in time, as Johnny Mack said last Thursday, we are in time, but we're over time. We've watched the behavior over time. And because we've seen the behavior over time, we don't have to say anything but sit there and look at them. And we can say to ourselves, we know exactly what you're doing. And guess what? We're getting on a plane and we're getting out of here because we're going to disrupt this process to bring it to the nation's attention. That's what I think.
And agitate. You know, the strategy can no longer be that we're just going to march. You know, I keep getting these things saying sign up for a national boycott. What right now? I think the Washington Post until a couple of years ago used to say democracy dies in the darkness. But today we've got to bring all these things out and expose it. We've got to talk about, and I really truly believe that we need to go back and continue to talk about slavery, because that's what they're trying to push this whole country back into. And it's not just us that they want to be enslaved. They want to enslave everyone. This billionaire class, there is so much really to unpack. There's not even enough to talk about here. But I really want us also to recognize that there's the distractions that are going on, that even though we're paying attention to what's going on in Texas, please do not keep your eye off of the prize. Isn't that, you know, and I used to see that all the time. Keep your eyes on the prize. In fact, Congressman Lewis wrote that in my book, the book that he signed to me. Keep your eyes on the prize. And so I think that, you know, we've got to be looking at what is it that's going to pull us up? What is it going to be that's going to inspire us? Not looking for one person to give us the message, but for all of us. And I think really what these Texas legislators have done is shown a light on what is going on, not just in Texas. Because when I'm talking to legislators all around the country, they keep saying, Atiba, Project 25 has been going on in our legislatures all year. So I've heard people talk about Project 2025, but what are you willing to do? We've got New Jersey coming up. We've got Virginia coming up. We've got the New York mayoral election coming up. What are we willing to do to take back the power? I think that's really going to be a big question in the next few weeks that each of us is going to have to recognize and look within ourselves. What are we willing to do to protect the democracy? We've got the leaders in Texas who started this. What are we going to do to support them?
This is our Rosa Parks moment. I think that's what I just heard you say. This is our Fannie Lou Hamer at the Democratic National Convention moment. This is our Shirley Chisholm moment. This is our moment to stand up in time because of our knowledge of history over time. Atiba, with full knowledge that you're going to be with us in the next hour with S. Todd Eury, where we will continue this conversation. Atiba, offer us in this final 4 minutes a word of hope.
In terms of hope, the hope is within us. Each of us is up to us. And we are the hope that we seek. That's I keep repeating that about what President Obama said in his farewell speech. You are the hope that you seek. We kept thinking that it was supposed to be him. We kept saying, oh, well, he didn't do this and do this as president. We didn't go and give him the support in 2010 or 2014 in the midterm elections to make sure that they kept the House and they made sure that they kept the Senate to be able to pass meaningful legislation. The hope is that we identify amongst us, not just one Obama, not just one Jesse Jackson, we identify multiple people. And where we also recognize that within ourselves, we all can make a difference. We all can make a change, but we all must stand up and we must all make sure that we are heard.
I couldn't agree with you more. This is not my time. It's not Atiba's time. This is your time. That the hope is within you. I keep hearing people looking for a leader. You are the leader that we are waiting for. Your vote does matter. Registering people to participate in this process does matter. There is a gerrymander coming your way in reaction to the state of Texas, Governor Newsom in the state of California is now discussing with legislative officials in that state to respond to Texas by opening up its state's plan. The governor of Illinois has offered to open up his state's plan. Governor Hochul, as well as other governors in the blue states to offset what takes place in Texas, are offering up their potential state plans in order to ensure that Democrats have a majority or a fair opportunity to have a majority in the midterm elections. The consequence of this spiral are so incalculable that it is almost impossible to imagine the current state of our union. Atiba, I'm grateful that you're on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, knowing full well that you're going to be with us for the next hour. Welcome again to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Atiba.
Great to be here.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, more with Atiba, and we'll welcome attorney S. Todd Yeary, 1 foot in the pulpit and 1 foot in the courtroom. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. 5 soldiers are recovering after a shooting at Fort Stewart in Georgia. The shooter is in custody and no deaths have been reported. The base, which houses 15,000 troops about 40 miles from Savannah, has been given the all clear. Governor Brian Kemp says he's in close contact with law enforcement, and the White House confirms President Trump has been briefed. Sean Diddy Combs is seeking a pardon from President Trump after being convicted in New York on prostitution-related charges. Trump confirmed Combs' team reached out, but said he's unlikely to grant it, noting Diddy's past hostility during his campaign. And Tennessee has executed a black man, 69-year-old Byron Black, for the 1988 murders of his girlfriend and her 2 daughters. Despite concerns his heart device might cause pain, the execution proceeded. Witnesses said Black showed visible distress, saying, quote, "This is hurting so bad," end quote. The victim's relatives were present. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Spending 2 hours staring at the back of someone's bumper isn't the best way to end your day. So Jack in the Box is giving you a bonus with their new Bonus Jack Combo. Fries, a drink, and a burger with your choice of 1, 2, or 3 patties, starting at just $4.49. Get so much more.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Venus Williams, at age 45, will be back on the tennis court Thursday morning in the first round of the Cincinnati Open. The Compton native will play Jessica Monero of Spain. Monero is 22. She wasn't even born when Venus turned pro in 1994 at age 14. Jen Pawal will be the first female umpire to work a Major League Baseball game. The 48-year-old Pawal will work the weekend series in Atlanta between the Braves and Miami Marlins. On Sunday, Pawal will be behind the plate calling balls and strikes. MLB is a little late with this milestone. The NBA started using female referees in 1997. The NFL used a female ref for the first time in 2015. Cleveland Browns coach Kevin Stefanski said Shedeur Sanders will be his starting quarterback Friday night in the Browns preseason opener against Carolina. Deion Sanders is listed 4th on the depth chart among the Browns' 5 quarterbacks. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we aim to foster enlightening, sustainable, restorative dialogue, and we welcome unapologetically progressive viewpoints that empower fellow citizens. We are now accepting submissions for KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorials like this one.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley Show conversation with James Farr. James said something that caught me off guard. Black Altadena is gone. My community is being murdered. I said murdered.
All you have to do is go to our website homepage at KBLA1580.com and click on the icon that says KBLA Guest Editorials to learn more about our editorial standards and content submission guidelines. As long as the topic aligns with our mission, we are happy to review your submission and consider it for broadcast. We can't make any promises, but we want to amplify progressive perspectives perspectives that are community-focused and solution-oriented. So go to KBLA1580.com right now to download all the information you need about our guest editorials. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. On this wealthy Wednesday, our very special regular host, The Politics of Our Faith, is always presented by S. Todd Yeary, who's the principal of the Yeary Firm, a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm, and also serves as senior pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore and affiliates. Dr. Yeary is the former chief executive officer of the Rainbow Push Coalition, the international organization founded by my father. Dr. Yeary's social justice work includes having served on the national board of the National Action Network from 2015 to 2021. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It is always good to be with you. A little hoarse from recovering from a cold, but I'm glad to be able to hang out with you.
And in joining us in this hour, thank you, Dr. Yeary, is Atiba, former Deputy Executive Director for the National Black Caucus of State Legislators. He is a strategic alliance consultant and president of Party Politics US. He's worked as a TV political contributor on BNC News, The Heat, In the Know with Mo, and The Leslie Marshall Show. Atiba, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Atiba, you with us?
I'm sorry, I had it muted. It's great to be with you guys.
And I'm particularly honored as a result of Atiba. We are going to have in this hour Jolanda Jones, who rose from a childhood of poverty and tragedy to membership in numerous halls of fame, a CNN hero, a four-time national track and field champion, a basketball All-American, a Rhodes Scholar nominee, a successful businesswoman, author, and unapologetic human rights activist, a Houston City Council member and school board trustee. And now she is, I believe, a state representative from Texas. And we are very fortunate that Atiba extended on his program in this hour to Dr. Jolanda Jones an opportunity to be on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Representative Jones.
Hey, how are you?
I'm so glad that you're here. And thank you for your courage in this hour. I want Dr. Yeary and certainly Atiba to say hello, and then I want Atiba to walk us through this conversation with Representative Jones.
Hey, Representative Jones, thank you so much for joining us, and especially in the context in terms of why we asked you to come here today. I wrote down some questions, but the first question I'm going to let sit because the first thing I want to know is how can we help you? But if you could tell us a little bit too about what is it that you all are experiencing, in terms of you all are standing up for the democracy, you're standing up for the people of Texas, and we're just so appreciative that you took the time to come and talk to us today. Is there anything in particular that you want us to hear from you?
So I'd have to get to you. We actually have a link for the Texas Legislative Black Caucus. If you want to donate, we could always use your support because we're going to have to be here for the long haul. And this is live from my hotel room as a proud quorum breaker. But we are just facing a bunch of anti-Black, anti-Hispanic hate, and they are trying to take us back. It's interesting that today is the 60th anniversary of the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and they're trying to take us pre 60 years ago, and we just can't stand for it. And I've been Black all my life. I grew up in the hood, and I don't go to no ambush to get whooped. There are 88, that's some hood stuff. There are 88 Republicans and 62 Democrats in the House. There are 20 Republicans and 11 Democrats in the Senate. 62 don't never, that's Ebonics, beat 88, and 11 never beats 20. But I tell you what we do have. We have a quorum break. And a lot of people don't understand what a quorum break is. And before I tell you what a quorum break is, let me just say this. They whining. Republicans are whining because even though they have us outnumbered, they can't do nothing without us. Okay? Let's be clear. We got a symbiotic relationship. Y'all need us. So you can whine, throw your temper tantrums. You might as well have on Pampers, right? Like Trump. That you can't do nothing. You literally can't do nothing without us.
Representative Jones? Representative Jones, we have about a minute before the break, and Atiba, I want to allow Todd Eury in this 1 minute to ask Representative Jones a question. We have about 1 minute, and then we'll come forward.
I wanted her to keep on rolling because I was with the whole thing. Look, when you know where you are, when you can count, when you understand the rules, that's when they get very aggressive in trying to come back at you. Why do you think, other than the obvious, are they so intent on disrupting the rules in this moment? What's the big question that is on the table?
The big question is keeping Trump in power in 2026 so he can continue to destroy America and us. And they learned in North Carolina last year that if they steal votes, it'll give them an advantage and they can shove stuff down our throat. And what I'm saying is now, not on my watch, Texas will not be North Carolina. And that's what this is about. Apart from putting Black folks and Hispanic folks back before the Voting Rights Act passed and putting us in our place back in Jim Crow.
I couldn't disagree. I couldn't agree more. I mean, that Representative Jones is as clear as it gets in terms of what we are looking at. And part of your courage is that the consequences of it could spread to every state in the union. And that idea is inescapable. The governor of Illinois is talking about it now. The governor of California is talking about it now. The governor of New York and New Jersey are now talking about opening up their plans going forward. And I find that deeply troubling. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. When we come forward, more with Attorney Todd Eury, Atiba Madian, and Representative Jelanda Jones. Thank you all for being our guests in this special hour.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. Agnes was in deep trouble with the IRS.
I owed the IRS a lot of money. I did not know what I was going to do. I was scared.
Agnes caught a break and found out about Optima Tax Relief.
But when I called Optima Tax, they guaranteed me that they were going to help me out the best that they can. And they did.
Optima stopped the IRS.
No more telephone calls, no more letters. Optima Tax took care of everything. I can finally sleep at night. I was stress-free.
Agnes was finally free from her IRS nightmare.
It was like a burden was lifted off of me, and it was a great feeling.
Are you in deep trouble with the IRS? You might want to listen to Agnes.
I would refer Optima Tax Relief to anyone because they got me debt-free from owing the IRS any more money.
Call Optima right now for your free consultation. Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief. Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest is Representative Jolanda Jones. Representative Jolanda Jones is one of the representatives in the state of Texas who, by Texas law and Texas justice, is now a fugitive from the state because of the principled position that she and others are taking with respect to opening up the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and in the middle of a decennial period, redrawing the lines in the state of Texas for the president's political advantage. We are joined by Dr. S. Todd Yeary, both an attorney and minister, 1 foot in the pulpit and 1 foot in the courtroom, and Atiba. Atiba is the former deputy director, executive director of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators. Everyone, welcome forward. And I just want to say, Representative Jones, Honorable Representative Jolanda Jones, we are so grateful for your courage and the other representatives that are fighting for our democracy at a very different level than we would have ever imagined we'd be fighting for democracy at this hour. How are you holding up, and how's everybody holding up?
You know, so here's the deal. I had a rough life, right? So any day I'm not dead, you know, or committing suicide like my dad is a good day. I'm alive. I'm alive to fight, right? And I was fine until my son knows that I have to be away from them. I just became a grandmother. My daughter-in-law sent me a video of my granddaughter. She just started talking. So I woke up to a video of my granddaughter telling me she loves me and saying my name. So I miss my grandbaby. However, I know I have to be here. But I'm also very happy, right? Because it's like my daughter-in-law knew I needed that. And she, even though I'm sad I can't be with her, she is why I'm doing this. I can't have my grandbaby getting discriminated against because she's Black and Indian, you know. I can't have her having threat of being deported even though she's a United States citizen because she looks like she's from India. We can't have that. You know, I can't have her making less than men because she's a girl. So even though I'm sad and even though I'm away from my family, I have got to do this. There's no other place I'd rather be. And I often wondered back during when they were marching from Selma, right? I was like, man, if I was alive then, I'd have been on that bridge. And back when they were doing the Montgomery bus boycott, where people thought it took a day or two, and you should know something about that. I'm certain your daddy shared stories with you, but they didn't realize it lasted over a year, and I would have been figuring out a way to get to work for over a year. So anything we have to do is less than that. The boycott lasted for more than a year. We ain't got to be corn breaking for more than a year. And so we need to be ready to do whatever it is we need to do, because seriously, those 3 seats they stole in North Carolina allowed Trump to disenfranchise people across America, including Texas. And that is why this fight in Texas affects you. So pay attention, because things can get worse. And I think that we are so far removed from segregation, from Jim Crow, that people that haven't had to live in it, they think it was a long time ago. And they just don't understand lynchings. They don't understand having separate but equal. They don't understand having district representation as opposed to at large that favored the majority of white people. They don't understand that. And it can get worse. I know it can get worse. I pay attention to history. Things that your dad did, Martin Luther King did, Malcolm X did, Barbara Jordan did. People made sacrifices for me to be able to vote. People made sacrifices to get rid of the poll tax. People made sacrifices so that we didn't get lynched anymore. People made sacrifices for us to just start getting justice for police officers who kill us. So I'm standing in the gap. I ain't got nothing better to do. I'm from the hood. We are somewhere. I don't know if people know where we are. We are somewhere undisclosed. I don't have to worry about getting lynched. So I'm okay. And I'm in this fight to win this fight.
Atiba, I'm moved by the representative's courage. Not long from now, her grandbaby is going to look back and associate the courage of her grandmother with the Voting Rights Act of 1965 on the occasion of its 60th anniversary. Atiba, in this moment, this is a generational struggle.
It is a generational struggle. And Representative Jones, you laid it out very well. I mean, ultimately, where we are today is we're standing on the shoulders of giants, and we have the roadmap for how to become successful. The problem, or I won't say the problem, the challenge is that we have to wake up and recognize that we are the hope that we seek. It's all of this change is going to come about. And that's why I wanted to start off the question to you, asking you, what can we do to help you? Because too often we keep thinking that someone else is going to do for us. And this is a thing about doing for self. And so, I remember when your grandbaby was born, and thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm glad that your son and daughter-in-law were able to send you something with your grandbaby, your granddaughter talking to you. But because I keep saying to people, and we missed you this week at the National Conference of State Legislators. I talked in the last hour about how Marcus Evans in Illinois was just the 5th African-American to be installed today, actually, as the president of NCSL. But when we look at the shared history of where we've been in this country, and when, the Quad Caucus and all these other groups and organizations, all of us are in this together. The problem is that people from the top keep wanting to break us apart. And so I just want to say again, thank you for your courage for keeping us together, because the rest of the country, and when I'm talking to people there, I know in Maryland, they did something. In Massachusetts, they were talking about doing something. All of this is waking us up. So, in terms of your message, in terms of what you're saying, also, can you tell our audience also, what are some of the things that were going on before you all decided to leave? And what was it that pulled you all together to say we have to leave now?
So here's what's interesting. Again, I said 88 to 62 and 20 to 11, right? Republicans to Democrats. And I was so I believe Trump had this plan from day one. It was always a fallback plan. I believe that. So we get our committee assignments in January. So I was on the redistricting committee. I was like, what I'm doing redistricting, this ain't a decade. We don't have no census. We shouldn't have, a redistricting. But I was on the committee. We literally had no meeting. So I was like, oh, maybe this is just a standing committee, right? Where we just have it. Then in the spring, people started chattering there's going to be redistricting. And it was about the time that everything was coming out with the poll numbers, that people don't like Trump, that his policies are destroying America, that people are getting kicked off of their health care. Obviously, women can't control their bodies. They are deporting U.S. citizens. They are separating families. They are sending people to countries they've never been to. They are not giving living wages. And it goes on and on and on, right? And that bill passed by one whole vote. And that's because Congressional District 18 didn't have a representative, which, by the way, I live in Congressional District 18. So stuff was going on. And I was asking the Republicans, is there going to be a redistricting? Because people were gossiping about it, sort of like you live in All My Children in Pine Valley. If enough people are talking about it, it's going to happen. Or if you're talking about now, but beyond the gates. But the point I'm making is this. All of a sudden, and it wasn't all of a sudden, the governor calls for a special session, but he doesn't put redistricting on the call initially. And people are like, well, there's not going to be redistricting. We're like, nah, these Republicans, it's too much chatter going on. Right before the session started, they put redistricting on. So I'm like, there are no new numbers. There has not been a new census. Redistricting is done based on where people move to and moving the numbers around to where the people are. So there's nothing new to consider. I guess to reconsider. Apart from that, there is actual litigation going on for the racist maps that they did in 2021. They literally testified in El Paso about a month ago on the racism in that. And in that trial, the state, the governor, the attorney general, and Senator Joan Huffman, who was over the redistricting committee in the Senate, said these were not racially gerrymandered. They were not done on that. Now, all of a sudden, right, it's racist, right? So were you lying then or are you lying now? We know they were lying both times. But so then I sit there and I end up stepping down from the redistricting committee. However, I participated in the redistricting committee hearings. If you go back and look at video, you will see myself and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett laying down the legal foundation because Mr. Geary, I'm a lawyer too. I'm a trial lawyer for 30 years. I know I don't look that old, but in any case, we were laying down the legal framework and we had good dialogue, and we're setting them up so when we sue, if these maps ever pass, then we gonna have sound legal footing under what remains of the Voting Rights Act. Although that might be done after this Louisiana case, but that's another story for another day. So we go to these 3 kangaroo court hearings. First of all, normally with hearings, like always with hearings, we actually have a bill to have a hearing on so that we can see how the bill impacts us. We literally don't have a bill. How you gonna testify about how a map will disenfranchise you or help you if there is no bill with the map? So that it forced the people who testified to say they were neutral because there was no bill. Mr. Geary, I'm certain you understand this. If you end up going to court and they're going to pull the record, everybody is testifying to neutral, which means there was nothing against it. There's nothing wrong with this bill. That was some bullshiggity. Let me be clear, right? So the 3 hearings, one was in Austin, one was in Houston, and then the last one was in Arlington. So the Austin, the state capital, Houston is where they're trying to get rid of 2 black districts, and Dallas where they're trying to get rid of 2. They're pitting 2 black districts against each other. So first we have that. Then the chair is a lawyer, and during the general session, he's like the expert for Republicans on the law. He knows everything about everything, and I respect him. He's a smart guy. He's an intelligent guy, and he's a well-trained lawyer. So imagine my surprise when we having these committee meetings, somebody asked him a question. He's like, the chair is not advised. The chair is not advised. The chair is not advised means he don't know what's going on. That man don't never do nothing going on. So I remember thinking, because I'm from the hood and I got plenty of common sense, I thought either he's willfully ignorant or he lying. Okay? It's one or the other. I don't know. I haven't seen him out. Oh. Like, dude, you peeing on me and telling me it's raining? What you think? I believe that? Like, no, sir. Right? I ain't stupid by a long shot at all. Right? So then, and so then again, you can't keep anything secret because it's like beyond the gates in the Capitol. And all of a sudden I hear, well, I think the map might going to be coming out on Wednesday. They're going to file a map on Wednesday. And then on Friday, we're going to have a marathon hearing. Bloop. The map is filed on Wednesday. Right? And then all of a sudden, the Republicans got swag. When I was little, I used to fight. I'm from the hood. So you know how if you have a fight, you win, you think you're going to win, you know you got, that's how you feeling, like your little chest is pumping, right? And all of a sudden, these white men who are over the committee mostly have been very docile. The chair is not advised. I don't know. We wouldn't pull the wool over your eyes. No, we're going to be fair. We're going to follow the law. And here's what they did, Mr. Geary. You can appreciate this. The Supreme Court that's owned, bought and paid for by Trump and his cronies, the Supreme Court has now said that it's not illegal to politically gerrymander. In other words, it's not illegal to give Republicans a whole bunch of seats and Democrats a whole bunch of seats. But it is still illegal to gerrymander based on race. So the first 3 hearings, for some reason, their lawyers didn't advise them because they were like, the only reason that we're having this hearing is because the Department of Justice gave us this letter that said that these are racially gerrymandered and we need to go back and we need to fix these maps because of race, right? So we have 3 whole hearings where that's what they're saying. When they get the map, all of a sudden somebody told them to say that it's not that. You guys are going to lose the case. So now everybody's like, oh no, it was political. It was purely political. We're just trying to get Trump to 5 seats, blah, 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 blah. First of all, any lawyer knows you already said that, because if I get you on the stand to cross-examine you, when you say, no, it wasn't done as a racist act, it was just political, I'm going to say, well, why you say in public hearing number 1 in Austin, public hearing number 2 in Houston, public hearing number 3 in Arlington, that it was done solely because of that racist Department of Justice letter? Going on. We ain't stupid by a long shot. So then when they did the maps, I've seen, if you've ever seen the movie, or if you ever read the book White Man's Burden, right? Well, we understand white folks know what's best for us because we ain't smart enough to know what's best for ourselves. It was like a bad episode of White Man's Burden in that last committee hearing. They basically were like, and I mean, they were froggy with it. They were like, y'all need to be thankful. We doing y'all a favor. Yeah, we didn't have to give y'all no hearings. We gave y'all hearings and we following the law. blah, blah, blah. Let me be clear. I knew then that whenever they call for a quorum break, let me tell you, I always use sports analogies because I'm a former United States champion, 4-time no less, in the heptathlon for the United States. And I was an All-American in basketball. And I played football too. But my point is this. When I knew that play was called, I was like, give me the ball. I'm going to carry it over the line. Whenever y'all make that play, we out of here. I'm out of here. And I made a decision, a serious decision, to leave my home. Thankfully, as a single mom, I raised my child and we practiced law together. So guess who's holding up the law firm for his mama? My son. And so I have that, but it is difficult, but we cannot give in because literally America will not be what it is today. And even though it's not like it should be, like we want it to be, like we're fighting for it to be, it could be worse. And my fear is if Trump gets Congress, that Trump will try to somehow change the Constitution or something so that he can run for a third term because he does not respect the law. And he needs to be gone.
As much as I'd like to ask Reverend Todd Yeary to come in before the break on both the question of where we are on the law, both the moral code and the civil code, in the remaining time that I have just before we come forward, I hope the people of Texas who can hear my voice have enough sense to send Yolanda Jones to Congress one day soon because she is capable, like Sister Crockett from Texas, of keeping Donald Trump real busy. And that's the kind of Atiba that we need in the Congress of the United States. And I've already made the case that Atiba needs to be in high office as well. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, it's KBLA 1580 Talk. When we come forward, more on the Jesse Jackson.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams has secured endorsements from nearly 100 faith leaders in his reelection bid.
Each one of you at one given time have prayed for me during the most difficult moment of my life. Look at these 3 years and 7 months. You don't survive this without faith.
Standing with preachers, rabbis, and imams on City Hall steps, Adams defended himself against past bribery and fraud charges, calling them political and noting they were dismissed under Trump's Department of Justice. BET is pausing the Soul Train Awards and Hip Hop Awards to, quote, reimagine, end quote, them for today's media landscape. CEO Scott Mills says the shows are not canceled, just on hold. And Dr. John Culbreth, the first Black superintendent of Dougherty County Schools in Georgia, has died at 77. The coroner says he passed from natural causes. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Spending 2 hours staring at the back of someone's bumper isn't the best way to end your day. So Jack in the Box is giving you a bonus with their new Bonus Jack Combo. Fries, a drink, and a burger with your choice of 1, 2, or 3 patties, starting at just $4.49. Get so much more.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Venus Williams, at age 45, will be back on the tennis court Thursday morning in the first round of the Cincinnati Open. The Compton native will play Jessica Monero of Spain. Monero is 22. She wasn't even born when Venus turned pro in 1994 at age 14. Jen Pawal will be the first female umpire to work a Major League Baseball game. The 48-year-old Pawal will work the weekend series in Atlanta between the Braves and Miami Marlins. On Sunday, Pawal will be behind the plate calling balls and strikes. MLB is a little late with this milestone. The NBA started using female referees in 1997. The NFL used a female ref for the first time in 2015. Cleveland Browns coach Kevin Stefanski said Shedeur Sanders will be his starting quarterback Friday night in the Browns preseason opener against Carolina. Deion Sanders is listed 4th on the depth chart among the Browns' 5 quarterbacks. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi,
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., inviting you to join me weekdays at 12 noon, right after Tavis Smiley, here on KBLA Talk 1580. As a law school graduate and a theologian with a firm grasp of our body politic given almost 2 decades in Congress, my show is the fresh new home of an authentic, uncompromised quest for transformation and salvation, both personal and collectively, as I vigorously interrogate the theological and symbolic meanings embedded in our society. I promise to leverage my knowledge of history, theology, and both international and domestic issues to imagine an inclusive vision for the future, which I hope will inspire all of us to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as a given, not just an aspiration. So join me weekdays at 12 noon, right after Tavis Smiley, for 2 hours of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
There's nothing like when you get that part from eBay and it just fits. Yeah, the first time. So you can do less of this and get right back to more of this. At eBay, you'll find all the parts you need, guaranteed to fit, at prices you'll love. Sounds good, doesn't it? eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Your child is 18, and suddenly you no longer have legal access to their medical info, even in an emergency. No health decisions, no financial help, nothing, unless you plan ahead. That's why Trust and Will created the Young Adult Plan. It includes HIPAA authorization, healthcare directives, and power of attorney. Everything your child needs to stay protected and stay connected. Go to trustandwill.com and get your Young Adult Plan for just $69. Because turning 18 shouldn't mean cutting parents out of the picture. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. See website for details.
Trust and Will.
Some things can steal your sunshine. Ugh, I just got my hair done.
Sorry, the cooler's broken. Anyone see my flip-flops? Anyone?
But COVID-19 can steal a lot more. I just took a COVID test. Ugh. Prescription medications for COVID exist. If you test positive this summer, ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com/COVID-19 to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is the day where Reverend Dr. Todd Eury co-hosts the program on Wealthy Wednesdays as we interrogate both our faith and the politics through which our faith functions. We are very blessed today to have Atiba on our show. Atiba has worked in numerous public outlets. He's also served as the former Executive Deputy Director of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators. And we've been very blessed to have Jolanda Joe Jones, who rose up from poverty and tragedy to membership, a world-class athlete, and now a state representative and lawyer in the state of Texas, who is on the run for Texas justice while she fights on the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act for the right to vote, not only for the people of the state of Texas, but for all over our country. My guests, I welcome you forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you.
I got nothing to say. I'm just listening.
It's a lot to listen to, too.
Dr. Eury, on the question of the law, both the moral code and the civil code, attorney, Representative Jones's grandchild has something to look forward to when she reflects upon the anniversary of this moment and reflects upon the very courageous act that her grandmother engaged in along with the Texas legislators. Your thoughts, Dr. Uri?
Well, first thing I hope that she appreciates about her Gigi, her Nana, her G-Ma, whatever that term of intimacy, her Grammy.
Glammy, yes.
Glammy speaks in a tongue that everybody understands. Let there be no doubt. At the end of the day, too often we make faith spooky, and it's not practical. This is a practical application. It doesn't come without tremendous sacrifice, tremendous commitment. And so when we think about what is our obligation, when Brother Atiba asks, what can we do? And trying to get a response to help through the immediate nature of this crisis. This crisis is this crisis. Do understand there's another storm brewing. And there's going to be one to come after it. And so if we're not committed to this, and I've been thinking about this whole time, Rep Jones is of the community, from the community. When she says she's from the hood, she brings savvy, she brings credibility, she brings technical expertise, but she also brings common sense, which we know is not that common. And so when we think about what is our obligation, this is the conversation that I ask people to go back and ask. Did you vote in the last state election where state representatives were voted on? Did you vote in the last local election when you had a local official that could represent your interests? This is a grassroots movement where you have state representatives, members of the Democratic caucus in the state of Texas, really fighting a national fight, but Texas is the front line today. And so this has always been a math problem, all the way down to why is it that we have such disparities in terms of what the representation looks like? It's because if we go back and look at voter participation, voter engagement, voter registration, all of those things, if we start looking at that, then we got to go back and ask ourselves, what ownership do we have in this moment that we have put Rep Jones and her colleagues in this position? And so we got to figure out in this moment, while they are demonstrating courage, one, staying in a hotel ain't free and it probably ain't cheap. They probably gonna have to stay like that for a while, in the meantime, the governor and the president trying to figure out how to literally send U.S. Marshals to go get them. What does that look like? That's a different frame. That's the conversation that predates the nostalgia of a Montgomery bus boycott. When you go in thinking maybe a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks, it ends up being a year. Are we in it to back them for the long fight, if a long fight is what's required for us to get justice? And that's the conversation that we got to have to be able to say, we support you. Do what you got to do. As long as it takes, we're going to be there. We're going to support you. We're going to fight with you. But we can't just have the voices of our elected officials speaking in our place. We got to get them. We got to let them sing with us. That means we got to sing with them and not just leave them to do all the fighting.
Todd, this is 60 years after the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Why are we still having this conversation? Why are we still fighting for the right to vote in this democracy? I don't get it. I don't understand it. I'm sure that those who are within the range of our voices, that this past prologue business is ridiculous. And I can't tell you how 191 countries around the world copied our Constitution, who built their democracies on the foundation of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of 1787, and obviously the Bill of Rights. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, if I were making a recommendation to a fledgling democracy today, and I had to give them an example of a constitution to promote democracy, I would not recommend the U.S. Constitution. Help us with that, Todd.
Well, first, you said, why are we in this place 60 years after the ratifying, the signing of the Voting Rights Act? It's because we does not mean we. The we, the people, still ain't we, the people. And that's the fight that's going on, because we, who are the beneficiaries of a struggle that expanded the inclusion of the Constitution beyond its original intent and design, are now having to deal with the blowback, because you now have the beneficiaries of the entitlement coming back to say, no, we don't mean we. And so I would, when you mention 191 countries that model, their governments after the Constitution, let me lift up 2 governments that modeled themselves after something different. The Third Reich was a study of white supremacy. Apartheid South Africa was a study of separate but equal. And so there are models that come out of this regressive kind of politics that has inspired other countries as well. The challenge becomes, are we going to go with consent, whether it's passive or intentional, or are we going to go kicking and screaming and fighting and spitting and cussing and all of the other things that go along with it, to make sure that they understand that hell no, we won't go is still not just a mantra. It's a commitment that we are not going to give in to the backing away from the fights for justice and an expanded inclusivity. Because if we go back and just look at history, we're so ahistorical now. We've got an ignorant historian running the government. He's surrounded by other ignorant historians who don't care to know anything, and they pull history off the shelves. If we go back and even understand the immigration conversation, immigration writ large was the mechanism by which masses of Europeans came here in the first place. Now you don't want an immigration policy that is inclusive, and you, to Rep. Jones's point, you're sending folks to countries where they have no ties. So now we now have a different kind of human trafficking in sending people to places where they have no basis in law or culture or experience to be. We've seen this movie before, and if we're not clear, the piece that we're missing, the reason sometimes we're reliving it is because we took our foot off the gas when we thought the coast was clear. And while we were coasting, they were regrouping. And this is just the resurgence of the 21st century slavery without a plantation and without shackles.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward in just a moment, we are going to have some closing thoughts by Atiba, as well as Representative Jones and Attorney Todd Yeary. This has been one of the richest shows that we have ever done on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I want to thank Dr. Jones, Attorney Jones, in a very, very special way because of the sacrifice that she's making in this moment, 60 years after the Voting Rights Act. You are Rosa Parks. I mean, you are, along with your colleagues, you are Fannie Lou Hamer. You are the trailblazers of saving our democracy. And I have advocated over and over and over again that this nation is largely democratic because of the sacrifices that our people have made. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, more on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Become a U.S. citizen with the help of the Los Angeles Public Library. Get free and confidential information on immigration and citizenship. Visit lapl.org/NAI to find your nearest library or call us at 213-228-7390. That's lapl.org/NAI or 213-228-7390 and start your path to becoming a U.S. citizen with the help of the Los Angeles Public Library. Call 213-228-7390 or visit lapl.org/NAI.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now, all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
It's been said that when someone you love has Parkinson's, you have Parkinson's.
The Parkinson's Foundation knows that the disease doesn't just affect the diagnosed, it affects everyone who supports and helps care for them.
If you have questions, the Parkinson's Foundation has answers
We can help you understand the disease
and give you tips for living a better life.
Find your answers at parkinson.org or call 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the final segment of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on this Wealthy Wednesday. Atiba, former Deputy Executive Director of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators, strategic consultant, and president of Party Politics US, reached out to one of his colleagues in this amazing, evolving story and brought to our show today none other than the Honorable Representative Yolanda Jones, who is also a lawyer, who is making a supreme sacrifice along with other state legislators in the state of Texas as they fight not only to end a corrupt redistricting process in the state of Texas, but literally has her finger, along with these other legislators, in the dike of what's coming to every state in the union if, in fact, these legislators do not hold their ground. I'm very particularly grateful that they're on the program. Also joining us regularly on Wednesday is Dr. Todd Eury. Dr. Eury is our regular contributor on Wealthy Wednesdays. And I want Representative Jones to know this. Your location is confidential to KBLA and confidential to us. We are not in your business like that. But we do want to be an outlet on KBLA for any of the legislators who have something they want to say during this evolving process. Even if it's just the opportunity to say hello to your family. Feel free to reach out, Atiba, and Atiba will let us know. We will make an adjustment in any program, I believe, certainly on my program, at any time during the week to allow legislators to come onto the program to share with them their thoughts about this process. With that, this is our final segment. I'm so grateful for that. Let me allow Atiba a word of hope, then Representative Jones a word of hope, and then finally Reverend Eury a word of hope. Atiba.
Representative Jones, you know this better than any of us. I was looking during a break at an article in the Texas Tribune. It talked about voting, and it said in 1992 voter turnout was 72.9%. Who won the national election? Bill Clinton. In 2008, 59.5%. Obama. In 2020, it was 66.7% when Biden won. And I bring up those numbers because you emphasize and voting. And it's one of the things that I talk about so often. And so, we're in this situation and we think about how often we keep hearing, oh, well, Texas may go blue this time. Texas is purple, what have you. But, I like to say, because I often talk to my friends in Texas who say, oh, well, Texas doesn't want anybody from outside Texas to come help. I just hope that this also, that you all, in terms of where you're doing, the courage you have to stand up, that there are opportunities for us to come into Texas to help you all, because there's more than enough people. There's the second largest state in the country. There's enough people there. If we can figure out how to work with you all to get voter turnout, so that you can have control of the Texas legislature, so you can control how the districts are done. But that does not happen without us working with you as citizens. And thank you so much for the work that you do as an elected official.
Thank you, Atiba. Representative Jones.
So let me be clear. You've been misinformed. We have been begging people to help us in Texas, and the National Party has just not wanted to focus on Texas. And it reminds me of when you live in a house and you go away and the rats are running your house till you walk in. Like, they've been gone and the rats have been running the house in Texas, and now look where we are. First thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say is this. When I ran for office a long time ago, and I'm talking fast because I know we don't have a lot of time, there was a lady named Beulah Shepard. And Miss Shepard asked a whole bunch of Negro, black folks in a room, how many of y'all are African Americans? And I knew it was something about the way she asked that question. She said, raise your hand. Something about the way she asked that question told me, Yolanda Felicia, do not raise your hand. But she said, and I did not. So I was the only black person who did not raise my hand. She said, let me tell you something about y'all African Americans. We Negroes were willing to get hosed. We Negroes were getting lynched. We Negroes didn't want to have to pay a poll tax. We Negroes dressed up to go vote. Y'all African Americans are too comfortable. So I'm gonna say that. Are you a Negro or are you an African American? Because after Miss Shepard said that, I'd be calling myself a Negro, because African Americans have it too easy. True story. The last thing I will say is this. I wonder years from now, if you didn't vote because you were just tired and you literally didn't appreciate that you had the right to vote, when it's taken away, if these maps pass, are you going to wish that you would have voted? And finally, I'll say this. You brought it up. I wasn't going to say nothing, but I'm actually running for Congressional District 18, where Barbara Jordan, Mickey Leland, Craig Washington, Sheila Jackson Lee, and Sylvester Turner served. Because that Barbara Jordan got an airport named after her. Mickey Leland has an airport named after him. Sheila Jackson Lee got an airport named after him. The point I'm making is they got elected because they were fighters and they were smart and everybody was a lawyer. And so we have a history of fighters. And so that's why I do this, right? This just sort of happened, sort of popped up. But at the end of the day, we need somebody who ain't scared of Trump. I ain't never been scared, ever. And let me spell my name for you, because you can't support me and you can't follow me on social media if you don't know how to spell my name. My name is Jolanda, not Yolanda. My mother liked Yolanda. My daddy's name is John. She took away the Y and added a J. It is Jolanda. So it's a black name for somebody that loves black people, who is unapologetically a fighter for them. And because I grew up poor, I will never, ever forget where I came from. So I will always fight for the least, the last, and the lost.
Mickey Leland was a good friend of mine, and it was an honor to serve in Congress for the 17 years that I did with late Sheila Jackson Lee. Reverend Uri, we have about 3 minutes until the hard stop of our show.
Well, my job is simple. This is where I ask everybody in the audience to give me a boom shakalaka, because it's already been said. I think my obligation is to raise the offering. And seriously, it's the appeal. We can't have our soldiers, our fighters, on these front lines under-resourced. That's how the United States of America almost lost the Revolutionary War. They couldn't pay folks. They couldn't take care of the needs. This is a battle. It's a different kind of battle. The weapons are courage and moral compass. And so it is standing on that courage and moral compass on behalf of all of us that this remnant, these few who have tremendous courage, are saying, look, the principles are too important. The outcomes are too serious for us to decide that somehow that we're going to be complicit and get hustled by these folks who's getting ready to punk us when we come back to the chamber. Let's just be real clear. And so if you've been Black in America at any point in time, you know what a hustle looks like. You know what it sounds like when they get ready to come for you and then they try to get your consent. So at the end of the day, they said, well, we thought that's what you wanted. Well, this is a moment where we've been told this is the game that's playing. We have to lend our voices to the hell no movement. Now, there are a few concerns I have tactically. I will not say it on this broadcast because we know that somebody's listening. There are regulators that lean in and listen in, but we got to make sure that they're protected because they are actually being sought after, not for any other reason, but to hold them hostage and take them back. And in some places to take their elected positions away from them because the institutionalization of white supremacy is being challenged in real time. Let's just be. So send the money somewhere, take your ticket money. Don't buy that lottery ticket today. Save your coffee. You African Americans out there that got a little excess spending money, take a little something off your show and then let's go do something.
I just want to add very quickly, thank you very much, Representative Jones, for being here. That litany from Mickey Leland to the present does matter. We wish you the best of luck in your race for Congress in the 8th Congressional District. It's Todd Yerry's that was formerly headed by Perrin Mitchell, then Elijah Cummings and Kwesi Mfume, and now Kwesi Mfume again. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and I am just so grateful, Atiba, for all of the guests that you brought today. When we come forward, until tomorrow, Jesse Jackson Jr.
I'm Amber Payton.